Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're specifically going to talk about Legends of Vox Machina, Amazon Prime. There's no spoilers for the Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime show in this content, because what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what this means for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and the relationship between Matthew Mercer and Wizards of the Coast. Okay, so let's get into this. So, there's the butterfly effect. There's this idea of a butterfly flaps its wings in Singapore and there's a rainstorm in New York, right? That changes radiate out in a ripple. And so if you make a change, the change of that radiates out and creates new world possibilities, right? So Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime is not a butterfly flap. It is a major change in tabletop fantasy role-playing games. It is a major change for Critical Role. It is a major change for Mercer. It is a major change for Wizards of the Coast. And it is a major change for Dungeons & Dragons 5e community. All right, so Matthew Mercer and Wizards of the Coast are kind of looking at each other, and they're like, it's a little bit of a game of chicken, right? And they're both saying one side of the coin, right? Silently. Like, this is a conversation that's happening silently, right? Mercer looks over at Wizards of the Coast and says, I have laid waste to your entire marketing plan with just my stream show. With my stream show, I've done more to promote your game than anything you've done in the 8 years since 2014, when Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition came out. The biggest marketing tool for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is Critical Role, Vox Machina, and Mighty Nine. That's it. That's a fact, right? Then Wizards of the Coast is looking over and they're going, oh, you got this cute little streaming show? Yeah, we understand you got millions of people. Guess what? You know you need our game, because when it comes to street cred, there's no game in the tabletop fantasy role-playing game world that even comes close to Dungeons & Dragons. When you say Dungeons & Dragons, everybody knows what you're talking about. When you say Pathfinder, everybody thinks of the Nissan SUV, right? When you say DCC, people think of the Delaware County Community College, right? When you say OSE, people think about original sales, original sales equipment, like Dungeons & Dragons is a name people know, and the only reason your game succeeded is because you used Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and as soon as people realized this was Dungeons & Dragons official, it gave, the juice your game needed to move forward. And we know this is true because you canceled on Pathfinder 1E the moment you knew it was going to be put into a web series, right? So, and so they're looking at each other from across the fence, and they're like, who's going to blink, right? Who's the important one here, right? Now, what are the possibilities? What are the possible worlds that are created by this? Here we go. Possibility number one, right? Mercer gets a big head. He's like, the Amazon, I got a call from Jeff Bezos the other day saying thank you. You know what I mean? So you know what? I don't need Dungeons & Dragons. Darrington Press is up and running. We're going to publish our own game, okay? The possibility of this, I think, is 10%, okay? And one of the reasons why is I wouldn't be surprised if there were voices on Critical Role where it's like, we don't need D&D, we can do this on our own, right? Who might be speaking in his ear too, right? I think there's no possibility that will happen. I think there's a 10% chance it would happen, but I think just because things do move, right? But the reality is Mercer's very smart, and I think Mercer has respect. He has actually created classes. He has actually created settings. He's done so much work, especially compared to anybody else on Critical Role. I honestly believe Matthew Mercer has done twice the work of all Critical Role people involved, right? He's got it to show. Like, look at Critical Role. What do any of them have to show for it, right? Years later, right? Mercer's got Tal'Dorei. He's got 2 D&D books. What do any of the other people have to show for their work, right? Like, it seems like he's the only one working on it and taking it serious, right? Please prove me wrong. If there's something that one of them did, I'd love to know it, right? All right, so basically, I think there's no possibility Darrington Press goes out on their own and creates their own game based off of the Vox Machina juice, Amazon Prime juice. And the reason why is because he's actually done the work in creating a setting and creating a class. He knows creating a game that defeats Dungeons and Dragons is 99% fail rate. 99% fail rate. And the reason why is there's 1,000 games that prove it, right? 1,000 games have come for Dungeons and Dragons Crown. Not a one of them has even gotten gold dust on their fingers. They've never even gotten that close, right? From the Crown itself. They're just, it don't happen, right? You know how many games have tried to topple Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition? Literally 1,000. There's 1,000 tabletop fantasy role-playing games out there, and not a one of them can like even made anywhere near the momentum that's needed. Okay, so that, I think that possibility, it exists, but it's because Mercer is so smart, I don't think it functionally exists. All right, next, let's talk about what is the call between, what are two additional possibilities from Wizards of the Coast. So Wizards of the Coast can go over and say, listen, you guys have blown up. This is fantastic. We have the Exandria book. We have Explorer's Guide to Wild Mount. We have Called in Netherdeep. People know that Vox Machina, that what Critical Role does, succeeded because it's fueled by Dungeons & Dragons. Your car runs on the fuel of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right? And right now, there's no other fuel you can put on that you could put in that vehicle, right? So, because the moment you do, it's going to sputter and die. And every data point points to that. Okay, all right. So, so basically, Wizards of the Coast can come in and say, we're super. So first of all, we want the Legend of the Vox Machina book, right? So we already have, your Mighty Nine content. Can we have the Vox Machina stuff? And this time, one of the things we'll do is we will, and I think there could be real conversations about this, saying, what if we promise a 5-year push to replace Faerun, right? That could, Mercer has earned that, right? The default setting of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is Faerun, but it doesn't have to be, right? Exandria is pretty darn close, right? And the reality is, I think you would definitely get some Dungeons & Dragons fans who would be upset, right? At seeing seeing Faerun thrown into the dustbin of history. But the reality is, this show is big enough where that conversation can happen. They say, listen, we can't do this overnight, but what we can do is during this we have three or four more years on 5th edition. 6th edition will probably come out 2025, 2026, maybe 2027. And the reason, we have to get past the 50th anniversary, right? And we have to get past the movie. We need a solid, functioning edition here for the movie, here for the 50-year celebration, right? So they can say, hey, we got that. We got that covered, right? So in 5E, and we're gonna start making Exandria the official setting of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We'll still have the multiverse, but the vast majority of the books will start to come out as Exandria being the default setting. And then when we do 6th edition, Exandria will take the place of Faerun, and we will never mention Faerun again, right? Now I know that's an incredibly, that's a major statement. And then also they can say, and we'll cut you in on profit sharing, right? Which, that's going to be tough, because the reality is, I'm not sure there is much profit on the books themselves. However, one of the things I've been noticing is, have you guys been looking at minis? Holy crap, I think there could be a ton. I just figured this out. I think they may be making more money on miniatures than they are on the books, right? Especially with these new icons of the realm, right? And there is I get no idea. There are serious followers of the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures. They really do follow them, and buy them as they come out. And a lot of them are continuing to go up in value, right? So they could cut him in on profits and say, maybe even cut him in on some of, on ownership going forward, and saying, every D&D, book that comes forward, 1% goes to you, Matthew Mercer, right? Like, or I guess Critical Role, however they want to handle it. I think, in my opinion, Critical Role is Mercer. Like, you could take. That's my opinion, okay? But they could make the deal any way they wanted. They could go straight to Mercer. They could have it go straight to Mercer, or they could have it go straight to Critical Role, right? And then it gets split up among the pie, right? So the other thing they can do, and this is the third. Now, that possibility that I think there's about a 50% chance that will happen. Okay, here's the 40% chance. There could be a sit down, right? And Chris Cox said, "Hey, I think this would be all backdoor, but this could happen." Chris Cox could say, "I've looked into this. I understand what's going on with Dungeons and Dragons. I gave a call to Mike Merles. He caught me up. Here's what we want to do. Do you want to be the official design lead for Dungeons and Dragons? Right? 5 years. You stop all this voice acting nonsense. You actually do. You do need to remain connected for Legends of Amazon. Legends of Vox Machina, Amazon Prime. But you come in and you are the next." So we've had a long line of them. There was Guy Gax, there was Jonathan Tweet, there was Rob Hainsu, there was Mike Merles. Ray Winninger is just kind of carrying Merle's leftover tasks. He doesn't really seem to be doing much. But you could come in and you can be Guy Gax. Like, be the creative lead on Dungeons & Dragons. Take it in the direction you want, right? Now, that's a real, actual, huge offer, right? They may, Mercer may not want that, though, right? Like, Mercer, I really think he suffers from knowing what he wants, right? Voice actor, there's a million people in line to be a Hollywood voice actor, right? And he doesn't want to let it go, right? And the other thing is, you can't have it all, right? If you're really going to jump in for a 5-year stint, and they would guarantee him that. Like, they say, listen, you get 5 years as the lead, right? And if you're good, you can get 10, right? But your life becomes designing and running design for Dungeons & Dragons. You're the main lead, and everything goes off of you. Those are the 3 possibilities I see coming out of Vox Machina. Am I missing any? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.